Tuesday, October 17th. Please stand for our invocation led by Dr. Raul Richardson, Power of Faith Ministries, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence following the pledge.
Good day. I'm going to do something a little different today. Instead of speaking my words, I'm going to speak the words that come from Corinthians, the 13th chapter, one we're all familiar with. A little bit of a different version, but it says, "If I can speak in the tongues of men and even of angels, but have not love," which is that reasoning, that intentional spiritual devotion, such as is inspired by God's love for and in us, "I'm only a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers," which is the gift of interpreting the divine will and purpose, "and understand all the secret truths and mysteries and possess all knowledge, and if I have sufficient faith so that I can remove mountains, but have not love, which is God's love in me, then I am nothing, a useless nobody. Even if I dole out all that I have to the poor in providing food, and if I surrender my body to be burned in order that I may glory, but have not love, which is God's love in me, then I gain nothing. Love endures, love is long and is patient and kind, and love never is envious nor boils over with jealousy. It is not boastful or vainglorious, nor does it display itself haughtily. It is not conceited, arrogant, and inflated with pride. It is not rude, unmanly, and does not act unbecomingly. Love, God's love in us, does not insist on its own rights or its own way, for it is not self-seeking. It is not touchy or fretful or resentful, and it takes no account of the evil done to it, in that it pays no attention to suffered wrong. It does not rejoice at injustice and unrighteousness, but rejoices when right and truth prevail. Love bears up under anything and everything that comes, is ever ready to believe the best of every person. Its hopes are fadeless under all circumstances, and it endures everything without weakening. Love never fails. It never fades out or becomes obsolete or comes to an end. And as for prophecy, the gift of interpreting the divine will and purpose, it will be fulfilled and pass away. As for tongues, they will be destroyed and cease. And as for knowledge, it will pass away. It will lose its value and superseded by truth. For our knowledge is only fragmentary, that is incomplete and imperfect. And our prophecy, our teaching is fragmentary, incomplete and imperfect. But when the complete comes and perfect total comes, the incomplete and imperfect will vanish away. And that means they will become antiquated, void, and superseded. And when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But now that I've become a man, I'm done with childish ways and have put them aside. For now we are looking in a mirror that gives only a dim, blurred reflection of reality, as in the middle of an enigma. But when we come into perfection, we shall see in reality and face to face. And now I know part imperfectly, but then I shall know and understand fully and clearly, even in the same manner as I have been fully and clearly known and understood by God. And so, faith, hope, love abide. Hope, joyful and confident. Expectation of eternal salvation. Love, true affection for God and man, growing out of God's love for and in us. But these three, the greatest of these, is love.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would, please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. We have two requests this morning. One is for our assistant clerk, Mary Ann Merchant, and her family. Her uncle recently passed away, so we want to make sure to remember Mary Ann and her family in our prayers. And also Mr. Manzi has a special request, and I'll ask him if he would please provide us that information. Mr. Manzi?
Sure. I'd like for us to remember today Mr. Harold Carl Eaton, a dedicated and longtime resident of District 2, lifelong member of Tolmanville Warren Street Methodist Church, retiree of 43 years with the federal government, member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity, husband to Miss Juanita, father to Miss Harrietta. I'd ask that we were passed on October the 6th. I was recently funeralized, and I asked that we would remember his life and legacy at this time.
All right, if you would please, a moment of silent prayer for both of these families. Thank you.
President Gregory.
Here.
Vice President Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Manzi.
Here.
Councilmember Small.
Here.
Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Councilmember Days.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you here. I know we have some special guests in attendance who we will meet shortly. The rules of the council are very simple. We ask everyone to please turn off all of your electronic devices. If you come to the podium to speak, please give us your name and address for the record. Also, you will have 5 minutes at the podium. At the end of 4 minutes, you'll hear that buzzer, and that's your indication that it's time to begin wrapping up your comments and then to have a seat at the end of 5 minutes. We welcome you all here this morning. It's so good to see you. A lot going on in our city this morning. We asked the mayor earlier at our pre-conference meeting to give us some more background on the terrific announcement that we heard yesterday from Airbus, and I'm sure he will do that in his comments. So we look forward to that, but it is great news for our city. Just more things going on here in the city of Mobile. We're very excited to hear this. So with that, I will turn it over to Mrs. Lambert to begin our meeting. Thank you so much.
Approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning.
Morning.
Before I make my remarks, we have one presentation to make. We have a firefighter of the month, and I would ask Chief Seeley and Chief Trenier to please approach the podium. And the certificate of recognition reads, on July 8th, 2017, Mobile Fire Rescue personnel were dispatched to the report of a building fire at Mary B. Austin School. District Chief Alex Trenier was the first to arrive on scene and found a portable classroom heavily involved with the fire, which was located at the rear of the main structure of the school. Chief Trenier immediately positioned his crews to cut off the fire's progress, preventing it from reaching the main building. If not for Chief Trenier's quick size up of the initial actions, the fire would have spread to the main building, resulting in a major loss as well as a disruption of the services for the Mobile County school system. Superintendent Martha Peak, as well as Tommy Sheffield, the Director of Buildings, contacted the department to thank us for preventing the fire from entering the main building. The actions taken by Chief Trenier during this incident serve as an example for the younger generation of firefighters of our department who aspire to be great firefighters. For this incident and for the many times Chief Trenier has responded and performed his duties in a professional manner, I'm submitting his name for consideration as Firefighter of the Month, and you are the Firefighter of the Month. Congratulations.
I would like to add something. Chief Trenier's family has had a long, rich history of serving our city. His son is presently a firefighter that I trained at the training center, so we're glad to have that. Their family has been dedicated to our society, or to our community for years and years. So we're glad. And he was my chief when I was a captain, so I learned a lot from him. So very proud of this moment. So.
Was Chief Trenier's father a firefighter? Was your
Wow.
Was your grandfather? That's what I'm talking about.
That is definitely a history. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Airbus. You never know when a surprise is lurking at the other end of a telephone call, but yesterday afternoon, I knew that I was going to receive a phone call from Alan McCarter, the chairman of Airbus Americas, and not knowing what to expect, he pretty quickly got to the point saying that they had just inked a deal and created a partnership with Bombardier. And the result of that partnership was that they will be building the C-Series airplane, Bombardier's C-Series airplane in Mobile, Alabama. And I had to kind of look at my phone and say, did that really just happen? Amazing. I mean, just that quick, the perception of Mobile, Alabama has changed for the better in the aviation sector. Years ago, when Airbus announced that they would build the FAL here and build the A320, I mean, the excitement that permeated through the community was huge. I would say that this is probably, even though we're building airplanes today, this is of equal magnitude, because what will happen, because we will be building 2 different airplanes, it will be an impetus for the suppliers to those planes to maybe the impetus to go ahead and move to Mobile or to this region to supply both airplanes. So a huge announcement. This is one of those announcements for economic development. I think that is a validation of things going on well, businesses being pleased with Mobile. Whenever an existing business chooses to invest in their business in your city, I think it's a compliment to the community, obviously to the workforce that's building, the products, in this case building the A320 and A321. So a very exciting time for the city. I've started to ask questions of Mr. McArthur about, how many airplanes and how many jobs would be created, and he was not able to answer those just because they did not know at this time. But the enthusiasm and excitement that he had was certainly of the same order as we were feeling on our end of the phone. And as I told the city council, he asked me if I had my tennis shoes on and laced up, because we needed to get ready to run. And I assured him that Mobile was ready, and we were really excited. So a really big day yesterday afternoon. And it's an economic development project where it's not one that was worked by the chamber, complemented by the state and by the city and the county. It was solely Airbus's decision based on the experience that they have had in Mobile. They decided to do it, and there was nobody other than maybe some Airbus employees in the city that knew that news was getting ready to come down. So very interesting to me. This morning when I walked outside, I hope y'all kind of felt like I did. Maybe we have a period of fall in the air, which always creates I guess a change in your spirit of how you feel, and excitement that maybe we'll have some cool weather. At least maybe for a couple of days we will. But there are a lot of things that go on this time of year. On today's agenda, one of the things the city's working on has to do with the continual progress of transforming Water Street. And today, the City Council will vote on a contract having to do with actually putting the controllers and the signage for the crosswalks to make it more pedestrian friendly to cross the street. And so I'm grateful that we're at that point. And after that is done, then we'll actually start the road diet, where we start putting in bollards and barricades so that we narrow the number of lanes, and we create bike paths and pedestrian walkways on Water Street. Meridian at the Port, there's an employment opportunity meeting. Just to remind you, Meridian at the Port is the apartment complex that will be built next to the International Trade Club on Water Street. But there's an employment opportunity meeting tomorrow from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Sullivan Community Center. This informative event is designed to provide details regarding the project, promote community involvement, providing exposure to the development team, and provide information regarding potential employment opportunities for companies and individuals. Mobile Works and Cypress Employment will also be on hand to discuss employment and training opportunities. Again, that's at the Sullivan Community Center from 4:30 to 7. On the area of parks, construction is underway at 10 different parks, 2 community centers. These are upgrades. It includes Rickaby, Harmon, Henry Aaron, Matthews, Unity Point, Dog River, McAnally, Walsh, Theodore, Langen, Sullivan Community Center, and Hope Community Center. And as we continue to provide our youth for safe access to safe places and recreational opportunities, and these renovations will, continue to upgrade our park so that everybody attending will have a great experience there. On another note, there's a lot of news about the Bay Bears. The owner of the Bay Bears, he does have the right to sell to whomever he would like to sell to. I think there's a lot of misinformation that's in the market right now. Our understanding, after talking with the current owner, is that there's not a done deal that the Bay Bears will actually be leaving. And until it is a done deal, I hope that the city of Mobile is in play, and we will make our pitch to the new owner, whomever that may be, that we would like for them to stay in Mobile. I think that it's a healthy situation for the city of Mobile, or to whomever it goes, that you have a new owner. We've had our challenges with the current owner, the ownership of the Bay Bears, and so should it sell and we deal with the new owner, we would look forward to that opportunity, and we will go forward along that pathway until we find out that we're no longer in the hunt. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mayor. And good morning again, everyone. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce you to a lady who, if you ever go to the Moorer Branch Library, or maybe have visited other libraries within the city, you've seen this lady because she has quite the history in volunteering and working in libraries throughout the city. Her name is Mrs. Lee Fox. And I would like to ask Mrs. Fox if she would come down to the podium with me. This is Mrs. Fox, and I have a proclamation for her. Whereas Mrs. Lee Fox was honored by family members, the Moorer Spring Hill Branch Library staff, and friends on the occasion of her 90th birthday, which was Tuesday, September 26th, at the Moorer Spring Hill Branch Library. And whereas on September 24th, 1928, she was born to the union of Mr. and Mrs. Kenneth Goodwin. And whereas Ms. Fox began her library career at Morningside Elementary, somewhere around 1970, something like that, okay? And started the library at Central Baptist School. She was also the librarian at Crichton Academy and also at Westminster Presbyterian Church. And she volunteers at the Moorer Spring Hill Branch Library, and she's done that since 1981. Whereas Mrs. Fox and her husband, the late Bill Fox, are the proud parents of two daughters, the Reverend Dr. Susan Fox and Laura Wilson, and granddaughter Amy Messer, and two great-grandchildren, Alden and Ansley Messer. So now, therefore, we, the members of the City Council, do hereby proclaim today, October 17th, 2017, as Mrs. Lee Fox Day in the City of Mobile, and we urge everyone, all of our citizens, to join with us in this celebration, extending to Mrs. Fox our sincere congratulations and best wishes for many, many more years of great health and volunteering at the library. Thank you so much, and congratulations. You know, when they did the celebration at the library branch, she was also surprised by the Fox 10 Surprise Squad, so she had a double celebration that day. And she is at that library, she's working back there, has a big smile on her face every time you come in and you see Mrs. Fox at that library. So thank you so much. Why don't you
yes, we want to hear from
say
her.
a few words, Mrs. Fox, you got the podium.
Thank you. I'm very honored. I'm being honored for something that is sheer pleasure for me. I just almost feel like I don't deserve it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, and I look forward to seeing. I am a great user of the library, so I see Mrs. Fox there all the time, and we just thank you for all the work that you do for us.
Thank you.
And this
Thank
is your
you.
proclamation, just a small gesture.
Thank you.
And this is the staff here. Let's have the staff stand, if you will. These are all of Mrs. Fox's co-workers at the Spring Hill Memorial,
Well, these
Spring
two
Hill
are my
Memorial.
family.
And then the family members here. Y'all stand up too. So welcome. Thank you for coming. You're welcome.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Appeals, we have requests for waiver of the noise ordinance on November 12th on Conti Street, on October 21st on Charleston Street, December 2nd on Point Laguerre Road, November 18th, West Delwood Drive, October 21st, Melavarna Park, October 28th on Cary Drive East, and October 21st on Fairfield Road.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on any of these? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Public hearings today is the public hearing to determine if structures, 1966 Calmez Street, 1403 MacArthur Street, 2320 Dolphin Island Parkway are public nuisances and ordering them repaired or demolished.
All right, this is a public hearing on a number of structures. David Doggenbaugh is coming from our planning department to brief us on these properties. So, David?
Good morning. David Doggenbaugh, Deputy Director, Municipal Enforcement. The first item is 1966 Calmez Street. This is a residential structure that we're requesting to be demolished. The current condition the structure has structural members that are rotten, deteriorated, walls that are deteriorated and leaning. There's indication that there's a leaking roof and that the windows and doors are broken or missing. The yard is also overgrown with some high grass and weeds. The notice was sent to the owners of record of this property concerning the conditions that I just mentioned, to the owner of record, Craig Rodham, also to the Alabama Department of Revenue, and then also a mortgage holder, Mortgage Electronic Registration Systems Incorporated, notifying them of these defects. That was a 45-day notice to begin repairs or to demolish the structure. Because of the conditions that I just listed, those conditions render the building unsafe and dangerous to the public safety, health, and welfare, and I request that the council declare that the structure be a public nuisance. The next item is at 1403 MacArthur Street. This is also a residential structure that we're requesting to have demolished. The current condition of the structural members are rotten and deteriorated. The walls are deteriorated and leaning. There's indications that the roof is leaking. We have broken doors, windows, and then the yard is also overgrown with high grass and weeds. The notice was sent to the property owners on record, which we have listed as Marion Morris, and then the Alabama Department of Revenue. And again, because of the conditions listed that render the building unsafe and dangerous to the public safety, health, and welfare, I do request that the council declare this a public nuisance. Okay, the next item is 2320 Dolphin Island Parkway. This is not a residential structure, it's more of a commercial structure that the city classified as a fire damaged, open to the public, vacant apartment complex. The structure does have members that are rotten and deteriorated. The walls are deteriorated, showing signs of leaning. There's doors missing, broken windows. Notice of the current condition was sent to the owners of record, and we've got a list here of Mark Reynolds Rainey, Stephen Rainey, Matthew Rainey, in addition to a mortgage holder of L. Bratton Rainey. And then there was also a lien listed, so we sent notice to the Alabama Department of State Revenue Collection Services. I do have some supplemental information to this particular application due to the fact that it's a large site that's blighted, and there's a history to this particular property. And I'd like to go over some of the history with this particular site. Back on 5/4/2015, our code investigation was conducted by our building inspectors and found the building to be damaged, open to the public, and advised the owner at that time that they will need to submit full sets of development plans by an engineer or an architect. That was back on 5/4/2015. Our building inspectors made a site visit. On 5/7/2015, building permit 2015-1194 for the demolition permit of the structure, the fire damaged structure, was applied. And during that permitting process, there's a note that's stating that possible reconstruction if salvageable in the future. I also want to note that on 5/7/2015, the building permit 2015-1193 was issued to install a 4-foot chain link fence around the property. This fence was to secure the demolition, or the site during the demolition. It's my understanding that a temporary fence was installed, but the current situation of the site, there's no longer a construction barrier or a fence at this time. So it is currently open to the public. On 9/30/2015, building permit 2015-1194 was issued for the demolition of the structure. On 4/15/2016, code investigation by building inspections, they were investigating an SRO of a report of work without a permit. It was specifically the installation of new framing on fire-damaged structures. The note reports that the framing was added to the structure so that it would not collapse during the demolition of the particular structure. On 6/29/2016, there was an inspection by the buildings department, a demolition inspection, and at that time, no construction permits had been issued, with a note stating that the building and the construction site needs to be secured to safeguard the public. So again, this site is, at this time, we have a note that it was unsecured, that at one time there was a construction barrier, a temporary fence, but at this time, on 6/29/2016, we have a note that it was not secure. On 7/26/2016, a demolition permit extension was granted to 1/27/2017. On 11/7/2016, an application by the property owner to the Board of Adjustment to request a variance to allow reduced setbacks and reduced parking was made, and that application to the Board of Adjustment was subsequently denied. On 11/29/2016, a rezoning application was submitted to rezone the property from a split R1 and R3 site to an R3 zoning classification. And this classification would allow the construction of an apartment complex by right. This was approved by City Council through Resolution 64-64 on 11/29/2016. On 5/19/2017, municipal enforcement began our nuisance abatement procedure, which is what's bringing us here today. On 8/3/2017, land disturbing permit application was submitted by the property owner. And please note that the application has been submitted, but it has not been issued to date. On 8/17/2017, demolition permit extension was granted to 2/24/2018. I just want to read that information to you just to give you a timeline that we've had this vacant burned structures for over 3 years. That the site is not secured today, and municipal enforcement is requesting that the council consider the items that I listed, the condition of the structure, but also the history, to render the building unsafe and dangerous to the public safety, health, and welfare, and that we consider declaring the structure a public nuisance.
All right. Thank you, David. Appreciate it. This is a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any of these properties, please come on down to the podium. All right. Ms. Foster?
Good morning. My name is Debbie Foster. I'm the Executive Director of the Peninsula of Mobile. My resident address is 4507 Park Road. I'm here today, this is for them, about 2320 Dolphin Island Parkway. We are respectfully requesting the immediate demolition and for an ordered requirement of maintenance of that property that is pictured that you will soon see if it makes its way around. Until such time that the owners, the Raineys, can bring the property into immediate and full compliance with all city, state, and federal regulations for the following reasons. First of all, the community has about a 30-year-old personal long-standing relationship with this structure, as well as their other structures. They have 3 other parcels on our corridor, State Road 163, and several within the community's neighborhoods. As shown in those attached pictures, you see that each of these properties facing the corridor are all in various states of disrepair. While we respect the fact very deeply that the Rainies have made tremendous progress in the past couple of years at their 2560 location, the process has been painfully slow. The parcel in question is located barely even a block north of our Rosedale Development Center, as outlined in our corridor master plan, of which you all are aware of. This area is a direct link to Brookley Complex and is having a very negative impact on all of our attempts to connect housing with the residential potentials in that area. This parcel is also 1 block from Heron Landing, which some of you may or may not know is a beautiful economic opportunity for housing that is between Willowdale and Doyle Streets. The poor condition of these apartments has repeatedly been brought up in discussions trying to develop, and it is, of course, having a negative impact on that development. The condition of 2320 Dauphin Island Parkway is also hurting other businesses nearby. The council is aware that our organization has been working on economic redevelopment of that corridor. We continually have those apartments and several other of those locations brought up in ways that the people perceive, the public perceives the misplaced perception that our area is a dangerous area. Although our crime stats prove out it is not, the visual impacts of things such as these burned out apartments continue to feed that perception. As this property is currently overbuilt for its size and is partially in a flood area, due mainly to Willowdale Creek, we ask for demolition so that any rebuild will then trigger all of the appropriate zoning and land use codes currently in effect, and hopefully, of course, we're anxious to see the new ones come out. We are under the impression that they do have a land disturbance permit pending, so that also concerns us. Finally, as this property has looked like this for more than 3 years, we ask for its complete demolition, complete clearing of the debris, and continued maintenance until such time that these owners can bring their other properties into the expected standards, gather the resources they need to complete this rebuild in a reasonable and timely manner. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Foster. Anyone else who would like to speak to this particular property or any others?
I'm Bratton Rainey, live at 2018 Old Military Road. We started this right after the fire. There was an arson investigation for cause and origin that took until approximately July of 2015. After that, we obtained a demo permit and began securing the structure, demoing part of it. At the same time, pursuant to the city regulations, we had to file an application for a subdivision because the building sits on 2 lots. It's about 60 years old, but it sits on a meets and bounds description for the 2 lots. And as I understand, the regulations require a subdivision plat be created. So we spent the money to have that designed, made the application, got that approved. Then it was brought to our attention that one of the lots was zoned multifamily, the other one was zoned commercial. I believe it was, or maybe residential. We had to file a zoning variance at that point to, it was a rezoning of one of the lots to have them both multifamily. That takes us to around October, I believe, of 2015. At that time, we're still demoing it. And then let me address one thing too. We've had to have the property surveyed a number of times. One was to make sure that it was not in a flood zone. The elevation of the building is not, does not render it within a flood. It is in a flood area, but the elevation of the building is such that it is not subject to flood and is above the flood elevation. But there was an issue with the property description, and so we had to have it surveyed probably 3 or 4 times. And so That takes us to, that takes us to like February or March of 16. Because every time we file an application with the city, for example, the zoning, it takes 30 days to get it on the books. There was on-street parking on Willowdale Street. That's been taken away from us. So I have Tim Spafford, the architect, Don Rowe, civil engineer, and Mark Barber, a structural engineer, involved in helping us. It was brought to our attention later that you have to have 10% of the units have to be handicap accessible. We can't make these handicap. So what we decided to do was add 3 units downstairs and 3 units upstairs, being the 3 units downstairs would be handicap accessible. The building is built within the setback on Willowdale Street, about 125, 150 feet. Our proposal was that we were going to add 1 unit downstairs on the DIP end of the building, which would cause the building to be built within the setback another 15 feet. I came down here and argued that and got a vote of 4 to 2. Missed it by 1 vote. So the architect then has to go back and come up with some plan to get 3 handicap units. That took him some time. We also had the property surveyed again twice for that. As of January 2017, our zoning variance was denied. I met with the engineer and the architect 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I expect to have our building permit issued in the next 60 days. I've jumped through every hoop that there is to jump, and the only delay that's occurred is there was a period in 2016 where I thought the architect had ordered a survey. He thought I had done it, and we lost 90 days. That is the only delay that we have incurred. When David sent us the letter, I wrote him a letter back. I talked to a lady, Miranda Davis, explained to her what we were doing, and I came to find out that the issue was there was no activity at the building. Well, we were waiting to get our building permit to do the remainder demo and start building.
Right.
Well,
Mr.
we moved the dumpster in, and we're going to resume work next week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rainey. Appreciate it. While you're here, any questions?
Yes,
Mr.
Madam President.
Small?
Hi, thank you for coming down. Got a couple questions for you. You said that you had to get it surveyed 3 or 4 times. I mean, I heard several reasons, but exactly why did y'all have to get it surveyed 3 or 4 times?
Well, one was for the elevation. The next time was a general survey so the architect could do his design work. And then the next survey was to add 3 units for handicap accessibility. At some point in there was a discrepancy in the property description where we have overlapping boundaries with an adjacent property owner, and that required probably 3 surveys. I know a survey crew was out there for 2 months and did surveys way back in the neighborhood to bring it forward to try to find out where the discrepancy was. Another survey was once our variance was denied in January of 17, in order for the architect to reconfigure the building to add for the handicap accessibility, we had to have it surveyed again. So, I mean, I said 3 or 4. I think we've had it surveyed like 6 times.
Was it the same surveyor?
Yeah, road engineering and surveying.
With the same surveyor?
Yes, sir.
And did your surveyor work with your architect all these times?
Yes. I've spent probably $15,000 on professional fees.
And your surveyor knew exactly what you was planning on doing from the beginning, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he knew what we were doing. I know that he was asked to do surveys for reasons that the engineers, the structural engineer and the architect requested.
If he didn't know what you were doing in the beginning, I guess that's the reason you had it done 3 or 4 times and spent so much money, correct?
No, it's not up to the surveyor to know what we're doing. It's up to the surveyor to do what we ask.
Okay. One more question. You also went between demo at first in 15, in the summer of 2015, then you went to try to build. Why y'all went between demo and one time and building the next time?
We've never built anything other than a temporary roof to secure the building.
I didn't say you built anything, planning on building. Why did you go from planning on demo into planning on building?
We've never planned anything other than demo partially and then rebuild the building. We're going to invest over $500,000 down there. It's going to be a nice property when we get through. The group of apartments across the street, we're going to rehab those in our next project. And the office, we call it the office at 2560, is a brickyard. We do our best to keep that, tidy, if you will, so it makes everybody happy.
Just one more question. I'm not trying to get in your pockets at all, trust me. But isn't it much cheaper to tear it down and build it up then versus going back in and trying to revitalize the property?
No, sir. We'll be able to salvage the first floor as well as probably maybe 40% of the second floor. So we're only going to have to rebuild the roof, part of the second floor. The big issue is code compliance. We've got to sprinkle the building, which we didn't have before. And those are things, bringing an existing building to code is more complicated than rebuilding a building. It's not necessarily cheaper, but that's what takes so long.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Rainey while he's here? Thank you very much, appreciate it. The public hearing is still open, so if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak to any of these properties, please come to the podium.
My name is Gaines Betbys. I'm the founder and former owner of Betbys Realty Company. It's now owned by my son Joey, so he's my boss. The address of the company is 3345 Halls Mill Road, 36606. I do most of my work from my home now. The address is 361 Coventry Way, 36606. Just a few remarks I'd like to make. I'm the manager of Parkway LLC in Heron Landing Corporation, owners of Heron Landing subdivision on Dauphin Island Parkway. Our property adjoins Willowdale on one side and Doyle Street on the other. We are one lot removed from the subject property on DIP. I have noted the abandoned apartments since the fire. I have no objection to apartments, but I have serious objections to abandoned property. I have followed with great interest the efforts of the mayor and council to remove abandoned houses throughout the city. They have numerous times cited the amount of drugs and other crimes that springs from these properties. I have read of their efforts to try to get owners to record wills so they can find heirs who currently owned old and dilapidated houses. I applaud those efforts. As I said, I live on Coventry Way, which is off Cottage Hill Road, just east of Sage Avenue and Bel Air Boulevard. The street numbers on Cottage Hill Road begin at 3000 in that general area. Farnell Lane connects Cottage Hill to Pleasant Valley Road, and the numbers on Pleasant Valley also echo those on Cottage Hill, thus beginning at 3000. Westgate subdivision, which is located on the west side of Farnell Lane, is a fairly large development consisting of first-time buyer homes. At one time, I owned and rented a house there. My son Joey and his wife bought and lived there until they could afford to step up to a larger home. My second son rented there until he left for law school in New Orleans and remained in New Orleans. It was a very respectful neighborhood. Today, there are a large number of abandoned houses there. I get the Mobile Police Department Precinct 1 crime report, which covers this area and reports residential burglars, commercial burglars, vehicle burglaries, stolen vehicle burglaries, and robberies. A report is issued 2 to 3 times weekly. Almost every report shows incidents in the 3,100 to 3,200 blocks of Cottage Hill Road, and very often 3,100 and 3,200 blocks of Pleasant Valley. Rosswood subdivision has been cut off from access to Farnell Lane because of excessive crime there. So how does this relate to us at Heron Landing? The most glaring examples I can offer relate to the home builders in Mobile and in all surrounding areas. Each year in July, I make a formal presentation to the Parade of Homes Committee of the Home Builders Association to have their show home built there. The first objection I get is not about the businesses across the street, but what about the abandoned houses and apartments in the Willowdale area? Those builders read the same police reports I do. My only hope to sell lots is to fill or get rid of abandoned residential properties in the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. The public hearing continues, so if there's anyone who would like to speak to any of these properties, please come to the podium. All right, with that then, the public hearing on all of these is closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Amy Bridges.
Is Amy Bridges here? Okay.
Reggie Hill.
Madam President, members of the council, Mayor Simpson, citizens of Mobile, and visiting friends, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be speaking today a little bit about Success for the Future and a couple other things which I feel will be very inviting for the city and that you all appreciate. Our objective with the organization is to secure stakeholder investments through initiatives such as the Drive for Five, one of our largest fundraisers, and our membership with the Mobile Area Chamber of Commerce. These stakeholder investments will continue allowing us to partner with school systems, government affiliations, faith-based affiliations, and community-based organizations. Through such partnerships, we will be able to implement worthwhile behavior intervention and character development programs to ensure that young people steer clear of pathways that lead towards delinquency, social dependency, and incarceration. Success for the Future operates under 4 pillars: faith, uplifting education, no to violence, and sharing. These serve as the foundation and basis of all projects we introduce or practice. Before close of business this week in the provided material, you'll be able to find examples of the impact we're already having in the community of humanity. I invite you to dive into the testimonials of these young people and share their stories of then and now. Analyze the real-life experiences that you might navigate through the serious opportunities that exist with your support. Thoroughly examine the budget to take note on exactly how we plan to maximize our valuable resources. And finally, just simply be pleased by some of the great work being done by young people on behalf of society as a whole. This morning, you each received an email inviting you to our 2017 open house, Solutions Only, which will be held on Thursday, October 26th at 6 p.m. directly across the street in the Fuse Factory. We also want to extend this invitation to all the media outlets, as this will be an opportunity to showcase some positive contributions to our community from the youth. And we definitely hope to see all citizens here in the building as well. You're cordially invited. Refreshments will be served. Another partnership we are proud of is with the Oberlin College and Conservatory of Ohio. I would ask that the visiting students and their instructors, if you would please stand. And Ify and Kayla, if you want to come down now, this would be a good time to do so while I read a description of how we're collaborating. The Youth of Success for the Future, in collaboration with the Mobile County Training School Alumni Association, the Mobile Environmental Justice Action Coalition, have been invited to participate in a community history project that documents the history of Africatown through interviews. The purpose of this project is to document and share the proud history of Africatown from its founding to the present, and to create an archive for future generations. These interviews may also be used in publications and presentations by Oberlin College students and faculty and the community members of the project group. We've had an opportunity to really have some great fun. We hosted Mustafa Ali, former member of EPA, yesterday, and I'm going to let these young people say a few words on the time so you can see exactly what we're doing.
Hi, I'm Ify Zamora. I'm a student at Oberlin College.
Kaylee Elliott, also a student at Oberlin College.
So students from Oberlin have been here a couple of times in the past couple of years. Me and Kaylee were here for the month of January about a year ago. In the past, we've done community health and environment surveys, and this time around, we're doing an oral history project. And we're very excited about the youth participation because it's like very important for youth to be involved in this kind of stuff because they are the stewards of their future and their history. And it's like to build on the legacy of Africatown, they need to know where we started from, like how were the corner stores set up, like what kind of community engagement stuff was going on. And so it's also very important to include the youth because the elders are more excited to talk to the youth growing up in their community because it's like good enough if we're interviewing them, but like if there's people from their community interviewing them, they're much more likely to participate.
So it's important to do oral history because through oral history, we can learn about the hopes, feelings, and aspirations, disappointments, and family histories of the community. And newspaper articles, speeches, and government documents may reveal significant and useful information, but those kind of sources often neglect more personal and private experiences. Africatown specifically has and has always had a vibrant community, and its history is an important one to the city and the nation as a whole, and we must preserve and learn from its legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the work that you're doing over in Africatown, and you are correct with the history and that it does need to be preserved. It's a very exciting place for our city, and I know Mr. Manzi is working on improvements there, so thank you for all that you're doing. Thank you, Reggie.
Indeed. We are gracious for the consideration of hearing us today and to share the burden with our leaders. That is a part of our mission, and that's what we want to do. And to quote Councilman Days from this morning, you know, if we always do what we've always done, you know, we'll always get what we've always got.
I have to give credit. That's actually Councilman Richardson saying I stole it this morning.
Yes, indeed. But I think it's fitting. And so we do appreciate the opportunity to speak before the council. And they're in the city all week. We have some events going on, and I'm sure they would love to speak with some of you all afterwards if you have some time. Thank you again.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, too. Welcome to Mobile.
Ordinance is held over 57026, amend Article 8, Section 57 of the City Code to add new provisions for permitting wireless facilities and support structures in the right-of-way.
Motion to lay over until, I can skip mine.
Until November 28th.
November 28th, right.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
64034, rezone properties at 5803, 5809, and 5811 O'Shell Road from B2 and R2 to B2 Lot A and R1 and R2 to R3 Lot B.
Move to lay over for one more week.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Yes, I'll just
Mrs.
be real brief.
Mrs. Rich?
I met with the architect, the owner of the property, and other people involved in the process, and my office is waiting for a list that will actually spell out some conditions on the PUD that will not interfere at all with the use, but more towards the aesthetics. And that will happen next week. So we're on a roll and it's moving, and I appreciate their time and willingness to develop this property so that it's really a positive component to the area.
Okay, great, thanks. Anyone else? All in favor of laying over for one more week?
Aye.
Opposed?
22038, amend Chapter 22, Article 3 of the Mobile City Code to satisfy APOST standards and allow Mobile Fire Rescue Department arson investigators to operate as sworn law enforcement officers.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
01647, authorized permit application with the Alabama Department of Transportation for installation of pedestrian hybrid beacon signal crosswalk and ADA sidewalk ramps on Government Street.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Daves?
4 years ago, Public Safety Memorial Park, excuse me, was dark and had all kinds of nefarious activity going on inside it. The first thing I did when I took office was to talk to the Public Works Director. There had been at some time in the past lights installed within the park on the little walkway that goes through the park. Those lights had long since burned out, and using some discretionary funds, we got those lights turned back on. The next thing we did was we, with the support of the administration, got the skateboard park installed there in Public Safety Memorial Park, and then a dog park. All this has greatly reduced the nefarious activity to which I referred earlier, and we now have a vibrant, active park in the middle of the eastern portion of District 5. Having a lot of people come to the park led to another problem, which was there are no stoplights and no crosswalks within about a block of the park. And so initially we had a lot of people that were using the skateboard park jaywalk across Airport Boulevard in order to get to the facilities, the shops on the other side of Airport Boulevard. This was dangerous for both those using the park and for the motorists. And then once we got the dog park in, we started having people do the same thing on Government Boulevard. So I've set aside some capital improvement plan funds to install pedestrian hybrid beacons and crosswalks on both the airport, excuse me, on both the Airport Boulevard side and the Government Street side, to make sure that the people using the park, whether they're coming or going from the north or the south, have a safe cross of those heavily used arteries. So we don't need the ALDOT agreement on Airport Boulevard, but we do on Government Boulevard. It's all funded. We're going to get this agreement from ALDOT. We're going to move forward to install those pedestrian beacons. It's been a long time coming, but what's been done at Public Safety Memorial Park is transformational, not only for the park, but for those neighborhoods that abut it. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Daves. Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21648, authorized contract of Fidelity Ports and Marine for service contract gangway preventive maintenance program, City of Mobile, Alabama Cruise Terminal.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21649, authorized contract with Gorham Air Conditioning Company for Hillsdale Community Center Gymnasium HVAC replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21650, authorized contract with Ron's Catering to operate the Mobile Regional Senior Center Cafe.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to
Mrs. Rich?
thank the administration for working with Mr. Ron Prater, who is the owner of this Ron's Catering. They have been at the senior center, the Connie Hudson Senior Center, since the building opened, and I know that my phone would ring if they don't return, because they do an excellent job of providing the lunch meal. There are over 300 to 400 people on an average that come through from 11 to 1 to the center in order to have that lunch meal. And Ron also works with the foundation when there's fundraisers, and he does really care about the community that accesses that center. And again, I thank the administration for working with him and creating this contract that's now before council. Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21651, 652, and 653, authorizing contracts with Dees Lawn Care and New Vision Services for nuisance abatement demolition with lead-based paint to various structures.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21654, authorized contract with Bagby and Russell Electric Company for Water Street Complete Streets Project signal equipment installation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Manzi?
Excited to see this item on the agenda. Another step to making Water Street more pedestrian and tourist friendly. Appreciate all of the energy from the administration and from Ms. White and the members of her staff in getting this to this point, and look forward to the continued revitalization of Water Street here in our district.
Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21656, authorized contract with Simplex Grinnell for fire sprinkler system repairs, 5-year inspection and testing in various City of Mobile locations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 64039.
By council rules, this ordinance will live for 1 week.
Consent resolutions being introduced for the first time, 03660 through 31621.
Motion for the suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of said resolutions.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
03660 and 661, appoint Marva Carter, Barbara Johnson to the Public Education Building Authority, and appoint Minnie Walker to the Advisory Commission on the Disabled.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
25662 and 663, accept fee simple warranty deeds, temporary construction easements, and right of entries needed for Ziegler Boulevard widening, and accept permanent sidewalk easements and right of entries needed for Bitten Spur Road sidewalk project.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
37664 and 665, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special retail license for the 2017 Greater Gulf State Fair on North Cody Road, and for issuance of a retail beer, table wine, off-premises only license for DBN Food Mart on Downtown Boulevard.
So moved.
Second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
40666, 667, 668 are declaring structures public nuisances and ordering them repaired or demolished.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
60669, approve award of special bonus to Margot Andrews, Frederick Freeman, James Sluter, Sean Tudor, and Devin O'Shea as part of the Mayor's Incentive Program.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
31621, authorize the mayor to apply, accept, and receive funding from the fiscal year 17 IACP Strengthening Response to Domestic Sexual Violence Grant, no local match.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
CIP resolutions being introduced for the first time, 21670 through 21672.
Motion for the suspension of the rules for immediate consideration of said resolutions.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
21670, 671, and 672 are authorizing contract with Harris Contracting Services for Hillsdale Community Center electrical improvements for Joe Jefferson Playhouse egress lighting upgrade, and for Michael Figures Park scoreboard repair.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Yes, Madam President.
Let's see, Mr. Richardson, you were first?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. I would just like to say that the people at the Figures Park is going to be real happy about this. The scoreboard has been out for quite a while, and it's thrilling to see that this is going to be repaired, and I know that people are looking forward to it.
All right, Mr. Manzi?
Yes, I want to just make a brief remark related to the Joe Jefferson Playhouse. We've allocated funds to improve and upgrade the egress lighting. This is much needed as that playhouse continues to host many shows, many plays, and citizens across the area congregate there to get their artistic entertainment, and we're proud to see these upgrades made there at the Joe Jefferson Playhouse that is a city-owned facility.
And we are also making these repairs as well as some HVAC repairs at the Hillsdale Recreation Center, which is in my district. Both are very needed, and we look forward to seeing that work completed out there. So good news for a number of recreation centers. Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolutions been introduced for the first time, 21673 through 21675.
By council rules, these resolutions will lay over for 1 week.
Call for public hearings. 41676, call for public hearing to solicit public comment concerning the city's solid waste Management Plan scheduled November 14th. 41677, call for public hearing to consider assenting to the vacation of a portion of Dinkins Drive and portions of lots 1 through 4 Martha Young Estates, scheduled November 14th. And 41678, call for public hearing to consider a right-of-way fee as a condition of vacation of a portion of Dinkins Drive and portions of lots 1 through 4 Martha Young Estates, scheduled November 14th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Madam President, I just want to
Mr.
ask the
Williams.
administration if they will please to provide, ask the administration if they will provide some information in regard to those last two items to 677 and 678.
Those public
My
hearings.
office sometime in the next week or two. All right. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Announcements.
All right, I'm going to start with Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Nothing? All right, Mr. Small?
Thank you, Madam President. It has been a great month in District 3. We've been going around the district, hearing and listening to the citizens, talking about the capital improvement projects for the next year, and also looking for and finding street captains. The last 2 weeks we have spent time in the Maysville at the Craighead Elementary School and also at St. Monica Catholic Church on Dolphin Island Parkway. This coming Thursday, we will be at the Gilliard Elementary School, which is located at 2757 Dolphin Island Parkway in the South DIP area. At 6 o'clock p.m., inviting all the citizens in the South DIP area, please come out, for we are still looking for street captains and also want to talk about capital improvement projects in the area. Again, it would be this coming Thursday at 6 o'clock p.m. And if you missed the other two meetings for the citizens of District 3, you're more than welcome to come to this coming meeting this Thursday at Gilliard, or the following Thursday, which is October 26th, at ISO Mertz Elementary School, which is located at 2815 Government Boulevard at 6 o'clock p.m. Again, having the meetings throughout the whole district, listen to your concerns, your wants, your needs, and trying to get street captains for our district. Speaking of Gilliard Elementary School, I have had a privilege of attending their readathon on yesterday. They had each hallway decorated with different stories, fairy tales in the books, from spaceships to animals. And the teachers and the students did a phenomenal job. I believe one of the news stations had reported it on yesterday. But this coming Thursday, when the citizens come out to our community meeting, you're more than welcome to walk the halls of Gilliard Elementary School to see the great work that the students and the teachers are doing over there. On last Thursday evening, I had, right before I had my community meeting, I had an opportunity to go to Daphne Police Department over in Daphne, Alabama, and I was the guest speaker at the Compass to Life graduation. Compass to Life is a program that's set aside for juveniles, putting them on the right track. It was a great program that they had on last Thursday, and I do appreciate them inviting me out, where I try to extend my hand in every way to try to help a young person to move to the next level. And remember that District 3 is a place where things are happening. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Rich?
Thank you. This Thursday, there is a meeting with the Police Advisory Council, and it will be held in District 6. 5:30 is when people can start dropping in. It's at the Connie Hudson Senior Center. The committee will meet, and I'm sure we'll want information from citizens. And again, this is the Police Advisory Council. I've asked our PR director to let the community know and the media know to see if people are interested in attending that meeting. Again, that's on Thursday. On the next Thursday, October 26th, the Carriage Hills Neighborhood Organization or Homeowners Association will be having a meeting up at the Connie Hudson Senior Center. This will involve public safety issues that they are concerned about. I've cleared the date with our Chief of Police, Chief Lawrence Batiste, and he will be present and bring his personnel to answer their questions. Again, this is at 6:30 on Thursday, October 26th, and neighborhoods in the surrounding area will probably get wind of the meeting, and they're certainly welcome to attend and ask their questions as well. On Saturday, November 4th, at the Environmental Studies Center on Kirby Road, there is an educational open house. It's really a great place to be. It's from 10 to 2. Bring your children up there and enjoy all of that they have to offer. And on Sunday, November 5th, there will be a fundraiser out at the Connie Hudson Senior Center. It's a Christmas and fall bazaar, and they'll have 30 vendors. A lot of the vendors are people from the senior center who make crafts and arts and whatnot, and that will be from 11 till 6. There'll also be a fish plate available, a children's plate, which I'm not sure what exactly that will be, but that you'll be able to eat lunch up there and come and celebrate. And also there'll be pictures with Santa Claus. And this person is Morgan Joy Woodward, who apparently has a following on these kinds of photographs. And they will make great gifts, and portions of this will go towards the foundation. So our profits, and thank you very much. And if there's a vendor interested, they can contact the Senior Center. I believe it's $30 a table. And then we'll just look forward to a really nice event on Sunday, November 5th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Richardson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. Well, I would like to announce that on Thursday, which is this coming Thursday, the 19th at 6 o'clock p.m., we will be meeting in the Tobinville Library. We'll be holding the Tobinville Community Meeting in the Tobinville Library. We're asking all of our citizens in the Tobinville community to please come out and attend. In fact, we expect you to be there. We're going to have lots of information to pass out to you, some regarding jobs, job training. We're going to start off with Airbus. We're going to have representatives from Airbus, and based on their most recent announcement, we can expect Airbus to bring additional jobs to the final assembly line. So I hope that the spokesman for Airbus would have additional information about more job opportunities at the Airbus assembly line. We're going to have representatives from Ulster talking about jobs. Ulster is the largest employer in the city of Mobile, and they are still seeking employees, and they are going to tell the citizens how they can get one of those jobs. So in case we have citizens that's not quite trained to take on these high-paying jobs, we'll have a representative from Bishop State to come and talk about how they can get you all trained up to go and get one of these jobs. And we're going to have a representative from the administration to talk about the various projects that's underway based on our CIP program in the Tobinville area. A lot of great things are coming your way, and you need to know what that is. And we're also going to talk about the proposed projects for 2018 that you can expect coming your way. I've invited our new fire chief, Chief Sealy, to come, and I would like to introduce him to the community. And of course, our Captain Dirk Parmenter from the 3rd Precinct will be there to give us updates on public safety, how well we're doing. I think you'll be surprised when you compare the 3rd Precinct with all of the other precincts in the city. You'll see we're right up there in terms of being safe. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, Mr. Daves.
Thank you, Madam President. 3 weeks from today, November 7th, at 6 o'clock p.m., we'll have our final District 5 community meeting of the year, St. Pius X Catholic Church on Sage Avenue. Hope to have Mayor Stimpson, Public Safety Director Barber, Public Services Director Harkins there. Again, this will be our last meeting of this year. We generally have a good turnout when we're at St. Pius. I hope we have a good turnout then. 3 weeks from today, November 7th at 6 o'clock p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Manzi.
Yes, Madam President. I want to start my announcements by announcing that on next Tuesday, October the 24th, we will be having a meeting for facilitated by Mr. James Roberts, Senior Director of Neighborhood Development, specifically on housing rehabilitation grants. How do you secure them? What are the requirements? What is the process? He'll hopefully have staff there that'll be able to walk you through all of that, answering any questions as it relates to successfully securing housing rehabilitation grants through his department. I've had many citizens to call and inquire, and this will be an opportunity for you to ask any questions, receive any information, get an application, and ultimately find out whether or not your circumstances meet the requirements to move forward with securing those grants. So that'll be October the 24th. That's next Tuesday at the Mount Olive Baptist Church, number 1, 409 Lexington Avenue. I hope that we have great attendance at this particular meeting. On Wednesday, October the 18th at the Thomas Sullivan Community Center, there'll be a subcontracting and employment opportunity meeting. So we're calling all our subcontractors who are interested in working on the Meridian at the Port development. The construction team, along with the developers, will be there wanting to link you with any possible opportunities on this transformative $45 million project that will take place on Water Street. So that'll be Wednesday, October the 18th, 2017, from 4:30 to 7 o'clock at the Sullivan Community Center. Just want to make certain citizens across the district know that we have various park improvements going on in the district, from Harmon Park to the Sullivan Center to Unity Point, Rickaby Park. We've dedicated a considerable amount of resources to upgrading the recreational amenities in many of the parks and recreational centers across the district, and we're just starting. We're already planning for 2018, and we will include you in those plans as we have our 40th, 41st, and 42nd community meeting over the last 4 years. We'll conclude the year with those 3 meetings. We have the dates. I don't have the locations confirmed at this time. Hopefully next week we'll be able to announce the locations. But look forward to engaging with you again as we begin a new council term and as we plan for the 2018, 19, 20, and 21 CIP years. But want to also say that you don't have to wait for a community meeting to bring your issue to my attention. 90% of what I hear are administrative matters, and I'm happy to facilitate taking your issue and getting it to the appropriate member of the administration, moreover Mayor Stimson, so that they can be receptive to whatever issues are plaguing you now. You don't have to wait until we have community meetings. My cell number is 509-4239. I am working for you in District 2. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manzi. Coming up on November 2nd, I will be holding a District 7 community meeting at the Botanical Gardens. I've invited a number of special guests. Postcards should be going out soon so that everyone can put that on their calendars. Again, that will be November 2nd at the Botanical Gardens. I also have my annual Christmas meeting set for December 6th at the Mobile Museum of Art. We will, as we always do, bring gifts for the children at Wilmer Hall and recognize our community groups as well as our public safety officers in the area. This past weekend, I was able to stop by and visit with the volunteers and members of Mobile Baykeeper as they were out at Langen Park helping to clean out those nasty apple snails that have invaded our lake out there. It was really great to see all the canoes and kayaks on the water. Unfortunately, what they were doing was having to clean out these snails. So they made a dent. We're going to have to keep working on that, but thanks to all the volunteers who came out to do the cleanup at Langen Park. I also was able to stop by for the grand opening of the Meineke Car Center on University, right next door to the neighborhood Walmart store right there on University. Welcome them to the neighborhood. A lot of development going on in that area, so I'm grateful that they were there. Coming up tomorrow, a number of us are participating in the Liberty Learning Foundation. They are actually, or they were actually, holding one of their sessions this morning at Davidson High School. They will be there again tomorrow at 9:30. It's a great program, and I look forward to seeing it in person. So unless there were any other discussions, announcements, anyone? I now move to convene an executive session of the council. This is for the purpose of discussing a proposed economic development project. The council is in receipt of a letter from Britton Bonner, who is an attorney representing the City of Mobile, declaring that the discussions will involve consideration of matters involving trade or commerce, and that these discussions would have a detrimental effect upon the competitive position of the city if disclosed outside of an executive session. I need a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The council will hold this executive session upstairs in the conference room on the 9th floor, and we will not reconvene after this discussion is concluded. So we are now...
We need a roll call vote.
We need a roll call vote? All right, Lisa?
President Gregory?
Aye.
Vice President Richardson?
Aye.
Councilmember Manzi?
Aye.
Councilmember Small?
Aye.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Daves?
Aye.
Councilmember Rich?
Aye.
All right, that is unanimous. Again, we will not reconvene after the conclusion of this executive session.
Oh, boy.